The Spanish announce table.
It is episode 389. Had to look at my notes of the Spanish announce table. Yeah. Hey, show me some energy. It is episode 389 of the Spanish announce table.
Well, that's the one bit of good news this week. You know what I mean?
One bit of good news, yeah. Hasn't been a whole lot of great news as of late in many realms of the
but there has been some great pro wrestling. And also, Tim, I think you might have it pulled up. I don't, but I did want to let people know in the Kansas City area, if you want to go see a good pro wrestling show, got plenty of choices for you. Journey Pro, fantastic show. But another promotion, Central States Wrestling, is coming back to Kansas City, and they're bringing Ace Steel alongside his tag team partner and manager. Arn Anderson's the manager, his tag team partner, Brock Anderson. So you get Arn Anderson, Brock Anderson, and Ace Steel at Central States Pro Wrestling. And then you also get, for the first time in Kansas City, Dak Draper versus Mantell. Yeah. Look at that.
I'm super excited for that.
All off the top of my head. All off the top of my head, as you could tell.
Yeah, Central States Wrestling. This one is in August. I do not have it up yet, but that's because I don't have to give you all the details yet, because we may have a special guest next week. Not going to say quite yet if we've got him yet, because, you know, we've learned things fall through. So stay tuned throughout the week for full details. But we're going to get a guest on to discuss that Central States Wrestling card that does feature the enforcer, Arn Anderson, making this here, Kansas City, Horseman Country.
Oh, yeah. Hey, it's Saturday, August 27th.
Okay.
And it's going to be at the Camelot Ballroom in Overland Park, Kansas, the Kansas City metropolitan area, both on the Kansas and Missouri side. It's an easy drive if you're in this area. But again, Brock Anderson, Ace Steel, Arn Anderson, Jeremy Wyatt, Moonshine Mantell, Dak Draper, so many more. It's going to be awesome.
It is going to be awesome. Love those folks over there doing their thing. And we've got a whole lot of pro wrestling to talk about. We had AEW's Forbidden Door. We had AEW Dynamite's Blood and Guts.
Woo!
And I think there was some of all of that. And, you know, there's some WWE stuff to talk about as we do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Our favorites. But Tom, Forbidden Door, we discussed this last week. I didn't purchase the show. I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched bits and pieces. I watched some matches later. You know, I kind of watched them as the night went throughout, because the whole card just didn't speak to me a whole lot. We kind of discussed this. Never really been a New Japan watcher, right? So it just never hooked me. But you got this pay-per-view, and you watched it front to back. So why don't we run down some highlights, man? Why don't you tell me some cool stuff that happened? Of course, I know some cool stuff that happened, so I'll chime in here. But I'd like to know from your perspective. Yeah.
So what I'll say first off is this event, now looking back in it in retrospect, I think it was more of an all-in type of pay-per-view. Remember that first all-in pay-per-view where it was like Kenny Omega versus Penta? They did the NWA heavyweight championship between Nick Aldis and Cody Rhodes. And it was just kind of like no real stories, but isn't it cool that these people are in the ring together, right? That's kind of what this felt like, more so than your traditional AEW all out, full gear, whatever it may be. This just felt like a standalone event of really incredible matchups, you know, dream type of matchups for certain segments of wrestling fans, more so than this is going to get the storyline from point A to point C. Like, this is going to be that bridge to get us to the end of a great story. It wasn't necessarily that. It was just, wow, look at that. Tanahashi and Jon Moxley trading moves. That's pretty cool. Minoru Suzuki and Eddie Kingston went toe to toe and slapped the shit out of each other for a good 3 minutes. Like, that's fun, but there was no story behind it. Right. So that's what I thought after kind of consuming all of it and then digesting it and reflecting on it. It was a good standalone event, but again, me and you are more storyline based. So I think going into it, that's why we weren't so excited.
Yeah. Now that said, they did infuse this with a lot of storylines. I mean, there was titles on the line, there was rivalries, there was feuds, and so those are kind of the things that I did catch and caught my eye. And I mean, they didn't fail, right? Like, I mean, it was good product that they put out there. I think everything we say is an AEW mishap continue to be an AEW mishap in these shows.
Yeah,
and, you know,
yeah, and again, the in-ring wrestling was good, and more so at Blood and Guts was it a bigger factor than at Forbidden Door. But again, and I will say it every time because it's the big Achilles heel of this company, the producer, the camera work, whatever it is just amateur hour. It is so embarrassingly bad that look, it's like if we did this podcast with our MacBook microphones instead of real microphones, like, you know, this one and the one you have. Right. And so I just don't get I just don't get how
correct
a company with that much money that's spending money on talents like Chris Jericho, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega, you know, the list can go on, has camera guys that are just like, what am I shooting tonight? Wrestling, like Ohio State versus Iowa. Oh, no. Like Hulk Hogan stuff. Well, I don't know what to do there.
Yeah. So, and I've wondered at times, you know, we've discussed how WWE is rigidly controlled to a script, right? Like, this is going to happen. 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 So I don't want to say it's easier because it's not, but I mean, they have a roadmap for the camera shots they need to be getting to some degree, right? For the major parts of the match. And if AEW doesn't do that, as we've discussed, then maybe that's where some of it's missing. Albeit, I think you would resolve that. Well, maybe you don't resolve that. Another thing I've noticed, and this is more for when Blood and Guts happens, is sometimes, in addition to missing spots, AEW also gets spots that they shouldn't have got, right? We catch a lot of talking, and I think you catch that with like a delay on your video, right? The audio can stream live. Well, I mean, there's a delay on the audio to air, but to match up, you have a little bit of delay because you can cut away from something that maybe you shouldn't have been on, and the viewer's never the wiser. So, you know, little things like that. But I you know, look, I'm sure they hire professionals. I'm not going to sit here and tell somebody how to do their job, but I wish sometimes we didn't see the things we saw, and sometimes I wish we saw the things we didn't see.
Yeah, because look, I have worked for plenty of production companies that shoot mixed martial arts, right? That is not scripted in the slightest. And obviously with pro wrestling, there's going to be things you don't want to see, right? The calling of spots, things like that. However, the production team at Invicta does not know if this fight is going to be a knockout on the feet or a submission on the ground, right? So they are also just kind of on the fly, and credit to the producer, Corey. Maybe that's who AEW needs to hire because he doesn't miss anything, and he knows where to go, and he knows how to do it. And he's funny the entire time too. That's another great thing, is he actually makes it entertaining just to listen to on the headphones. But anyhow, nonetheless, that's just a big point that I want to point out, is that both of these, Blood and Guts and Forbidden Door, were phenomenal in-ring spectacles and subpar viewing experience. And so that was the hardest part about it.
I love spectacles.
I do too. Speaking of, we had some good old buy-in stuff at the Forbidden Door. One thing that was confusing from the buy-in. So Swerve and Keith Lee, they win. They look like they're back on the same page. But then they did this match with Nick Camarado and Lance Archer. But it's New Japan versus AEW.
But both those guys are in AEW, but then they're not on a team that one of the guys is on. I know that's.
And then Lance Archer is in Suzuki-gun, which is New Japan. So is he representing New Japan here? But he's cashing a check from I didn't get that part. But yeah, so the buy-in was fun. You got Max Caster. He got the crowd going with his rap. That was fun. We got, look at this, professionals here. You had Danhausen. The big thing from the buy-in that you got was Danhausen created a song for the Gun Club, aka Ass Boys, which pissed them off, which we'll get into in Blood and Guts. That was the big spot to remember from the buy-in on Forbidden Door. Yeah. Then as we get into the Forbidden Door, this is where we get some fun. So again, we won't go into too much detail, but the first match, I think the highlight, it was a 6-man tag: Jericho, Suzuki, Sammy Guevara, Eddie Kingston, Yuta, and Shoto Umino.
And I think there was somebody that works in catering was in on that as well.
Possibly. Yeah. But the highlight here was Eddie Kingston and Minoru Suzuki saying, let's find out who's tougher. And that's
bitch, you think
just
you're tough?
fun.
Like, bitch, you think you're tough? And just a lot of slap fighting.
Now, I want to get your opinion on this. We saw Roppongi Vice versus the United Empire versus FTR with the ROH and IWGP Tag Team Championships on the line. FTR wins this. So we've got FTR representing New Japan, AAA, and Ring of Honor.
FTR represents tag team wrestling right now. FTR is like the flag bearer for all things tag team wrestling. And they're going all over the world being like, look at our dicks, and just throwing it on the table. And I mean, it's happening. You know what I mean? Like I think they're helping at least draw attention to it. I'm still waiting for who's the next big up and coming like teams that'll form to kind of make it sink in, you know, because I mean, the Young Bucks are already there, but right. The Young Bucks aren't going to be doing the Young Bucks thing forever. Right. So who's in this resurgence of tag team going to come along? That's like, you know, I mean, LAX is kind of like, they're doing all these things with the groups and stuff. Right. So who is it? Right. Like the Lucha Express is apparently dissolved. So
I can't wait to get into that.
Right? Is it the Ass Boys? Is it the Acclaimed? You know what I mean? Says it's Daddy Ass.
Acclaimed. Look, it's the Acclaimed.
Yeah,
that's
so
the
good.
team, because the Acclaimed, honestly, it's kind of ironic. I think that Billy Gunn is in this whole Ass Boys and Acclaimed thing, because if you think of this as the tag team golden era for AEW, right? The Best Friends, Santana and Ortiz, Young Bucks, FTR, Lucha Bros, all of these teams, right? During WWE's heyday, you had APA, Hardys, Edge and Christian, Dudley Boys. But then you also had the New Age Outlaws, which was, hey, we're going to get on the mic. You're going to remember what we're saying. You're here for the entrance. The matches you may forget, but we're going to hold some titles. We're going to be in there. And that's kind of what the Acclaim feel like.
Throw a few spots in there.
Right.
Yep.
And that's kind of what the Acclaimed feel like in this golden era for AEW tag team.
Great analogy.
So I think give them the champion. I mean, look, we saw on Blood and Guts, Anthony Bowen is healthy now. So I think that's who you go.
They're hot, right? Like, I mean, everybody's into them right now. The Scissor Me thing is.
Scissor
you see
me,
the
Daddy-o.
scissor signs where people had two scissors that were. I mean, it's so good. And it doesn't make any sense, but it's so fun.
No,
love it.
Because it came from the A down, because the Acclaimed,
right.
and then Max Caster just does, and then it's like fine.
Yeah,
I think with this, if I had the pencil, as we like to do on Spanish Announce Table, I think I would pencil them in for the Ring of Honor championships. I don't think they're ready for the AEW, right? I think that's where the FTR Young Bucks feud kind of, hits its crescendo and kind of has their resolution. But I think eventually you're going to have FTR lose some of these championships. And I think in Ring of Honor, Acclaimed Tag Team Championship would be, hand in glove kind of
and it's
fit
a
there.
whole host of other folks to drop some raps on, fine tune the
things
they're doing now, and maybe if Billy Gunn is their guy moving forward, as hint, foreshadowing. Love the Acclaim though. They're so fun.
They're awesome. So what do you think about, as we move kind of again more to the highlights? We had our first ever All Atlantic champion crowned. Pac defeats Malachi Black, Miro, and then late replacement Clark Connors. Pac is your first All Atlantic champion. What do you think is going to happen with this title and this kind of championship reign?
I mean, great, right? If you're going to pick, hey, here's a new champion, who's going to hold it? Pac is great, right? Pac can do all the things. I just feel like this is a new belt for the spot that Pac was on the card, right? Like, and I mean, great. And maybe it'll throw in a few extra stories here and there. I mean, usually if it's done well, it's a tool to kind of get a story where there was no other story, right? And Pac, we've done the thing with all these, he's in the, what do we call it, the death triangle. Everybody's got a group that they've got that's kind of dark now, all of a sudden, right? There's the Dark Order, there's the Death Triangle, there's the House of Black, and and so none of it, and the Lucha Bros are suddenly also, and so just yeah, you know what I mean? It's overdone a little bit, and it doesn't really mean anything to me anymore. So if we can get him doing something where he's defending against somebody else, and we can just kind of single in and get some Pac promos on some guys, and then him, you know what I mean, spinning his 12 abs all over the place to do that finisher and whatnot, you know, then great. Why not?
Well, so the thing that I thought was the most interesting, besides the first champion being crowned, is you somewhat predicted this going into this match, but it looks like possibly we're going to get a feud of Malachi Black, aka the House of Black. Maybe it's just him or the entire faction taking on Miro. So, I mean, are you excited about this?
Yeah, I mean, how could this not be great, right? Miro is on a feud with God, and he is, when I say he's in a feud with God, he is eyes on the prize, you know, looking past the obstacles, all the football, you know what I mean, isms you can throw out there. He is singularly focused on getting to God. And God, in Miro's world here, this is, you know, don't at me when I say this, God is a bitch, and he keeps throwing obstacles in my way because he knows that he can't beat me. And you add Kurt Angle to the mix. All right, you get what I'm saying? Like, he's just out of his mind delusional with this feud with God. But here is now maybe some people that are also out of their mind delusional, right? And to him, it's, these are the devils you have put in my way, you know? And who knows what the Malachi Black side of it means. But yeah, I'm excited for this.
And he got the mist in the face. And we've seen in the past, when you get a mist in the face, like you said earlier, Penta went from Penta El Zero to Penta Escuro or whatever it is, where he's dark Mr. You know, Dungeons and Dragons kind of guy. And then we had what's her name?
Graveyard Penta.
Yeah, Graveyard Penta. But then we also had the lady with the
varsity. Julia Hart.
Yeah. Now she's all
not of the hearts.
Black. But like now she's all black and, you know, in her goth phase. So does that mean Miro's going to go in his goth phase?
I mean,
right?
It should be interesting. Oh, man. Miro's the best with this, and I'm excited for it. I'm really
Miro's
super
awesome.
excited for it.
All right, let's keep hitting some highlights here. Next up, Sting was great. Jumped off another high balcony, which he needs to stop doing.
Yeah, so let's discuss that. I've got a tweet the table that and then I've got another tweet table that we missed. Actually, we were stuck on that match. Let's hit that back real quick.
Okay.
At Devil Vamp said, what a match by those tag teams. FTR and Dax are awesome. Oh, my shoulder's fucked up? I don't care. Tape it up and send me back out to put on a clinic. Hashtag tweet the table. And yeah, I mean, we didn't even discuss that part of FTR.
Well, so I think I maybe got worked because I thought it was legit. The way he sold that and went to the back and then had a taped up shoulder, and even said later, I had a separated shoulder. I feel like.
You think it was
Well, because then if you go to Wednesday night and Forbidden Door, or excuse me, Blood and Guts, then they're tagging with Danhausen. And I feel like if you had a separated shoulder, management might give you the week off. Right? And he didn't have that, you know, any impingement.
Maybe management might give you the week off, Tom.
Well, they should.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they should.
Yeah.
They should give all people with a separated shoulder the week off.
So we'll see.
So
now, moving on to what you were saying here with Sting, at Katie First Lady said, is it in Sting's contract that he has to take the leap of faith every time now? Hashtag Forbidden Door. Hashtag tweet the table. Are we overdoing it?
I think he loves it. I think this is his thing now. I think as much as the Young Bucks do the super kick, Sting's like, this is my thing. I'm jumping off. Because if you were to give him a bit of truth serum, right? I think he goes, man, everyone here fucking loves me. I get the biggest pop when I do this. I know they're going to catch me because they think I am an icon. So I got nothing to lose here. I'm fucking diving, right? Like, it's a win-win for Sting.
Said,
so I think
what are they
that's
gonna he said, what's there to lose? What are they going to do? I'm fucking Sting!
I mean, that's really kind of what I think he's thinking. Now, who knows? I will say, though, that was the big first highlight of the match. But, and I tweeted this at Table Show while we were live tweeting during Forbidden Door. But now the Sting no sell is the best thing in the world. And here's why. So he no sells the double super kick from the Young Bucks somewhat. And this is the part that I like, is he gets kicked, And then he comes back, he pounds his chest, he gives a clothesline, but then he falls down.
Right.
He's not doing now I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to move you over here.
It's a shot of adrenaline.
Exactly.
Which is a real thing. Like that can really happen, right? You can get that shot of adrenaline. You can fucking throw hands and then like
get dizzy and fall down.
You fall over, right? Yes.
Exactly. So I like that that's the part that he's doing. He's not doing the Goldberg no sell where it's like, and then I'm going to take you into the corner.
Hogan. I mean, for all things, I mean, I mean, that was iconic how Hogan would no sell out of nowhere all of a sudden, but like, it's not that, right? It's not cheesy to the point of like, well, this isn't real.
Yeah, it's updated to 2022. In the 1980s, that worked for Hulk Hogan, and that was fun. But now in 2022, that doesn't necessarily work. So Sting's tweaked it a little bit to where it's believable, but also still, one of the funnest parts of the night.
And if you're watching live, before Tom continues on with Forbidden Door, join into the chat with us like Theo did here on our Twitch. We're simul-streaming on Twitch and the YouTube. Just look for Spanish Announce Table or Spanish Announce Tube on the YouTube. He says, lol, Hogan no sells. Yeah, I mean, those were, looking back.
It was so much fun.
So fun when you were a kid, right? And you mimicked it, and you because you wanted to be that. You wanted to do that.
You wanted to overcome the punches to your face and say, you're not hurting me. I'm bigger than your pain. And oh my God, it's the best. It was great. But again, 1980s, you also had, Top Gun is the number one movie. Like that wouldn't happen in 2022. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the next, so I won't really cover the match, but Thunder Rosa retained over Toni Storm. So we continue the Thunder Rosa title reign. What do you think about that?
Yeah, fine. I mean, like, I think for me, there's a bit of still lack of storytelling on the women's side to where it didn't matter who came out the winner in this. Like, there's going to be the same thing going on either way. So I was like, yeah, whatever, as long as the match is fine.
And it was good. It was a very good match. The thing that I will credit AEW on is not putting it before the main event. We still had 3 matches after this. So credit to them for thinking of the women. So that's what I like the most about it. Besides the action. The action was really good. I thought it was interesting that Jessica Simpson, old Toni Storm, just lost clean, right? That it wasn't Jade Cargill comes out or any Nyla Rose, someone cost her the match, and then Thunder Rosa just happens to get the victory. That's what I thought was interesting. But yeah, Thunder Rosa still is your women's champion in AEW. And then we got what I thought was the match of the night. We had Orange Cassidy versus Will Ospreay for the IWGP US title. This was just the Weirdsmobile fun moments of the night. You had Orange Cassidy mocking Will Ospreay with the fist on the ground and the hand behind him. You had Will Ospreay poking fun at Orange Cassidy with his hands in his pocket. Orange Cassidy loses the match, which I think was still the right call. Will Ospreay retains his title. Then they try to beat him up, and we get old man Shibata, the crazy, for as much as Murder Grandpa is Minoru Suzuki, Murder Senior Uncle is Shibata, because he's not a spring chicken, 45 years old. He comes out there, cleans house, and then you get the Orange Cassidy puts the glasses on Shibata, who's Mr. Serious. That was fun. I thought this was a good, you want to show someone who may just be curious of what AEW is, check out this match. They might get a kick out of it, right? So that was good.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And then let's get into so now let's get into the surprise of the night. Air quote, surprise of the night. As you predicted, I did not. Zack Sabre Jr. took on Claudio Castronoli, and Claudio gets the win.
Nailed it.
Is it Castronoli? I don't know how to say it.
Castagnoli.
Oh, Castagnoli. Whatever. Claudio Spaghetti. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Claudio gets the victory here.
Right. Yeah, I think it just, to me, like, it kind of was, I don't know, just felt like it was going to be the Claudio spot. Like,
I really
referenced that I called it, right?
Yeah, I really thought, okay, first off, I still will hold to the fact that I think the better spot was to bring someone who's lower on the card to a more main event feature.
Right.
And again, Jonathan
Don't
Grisham
disagree with that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Grisham kind of fits that role best. Claudio coming in. Look, there's not enough real estate TV time wise to get all these people in. So I don't know what we're doing, but I just, because then we go into blood and guts And what's the motivation for Claudio to like really beat the shit out of Jake Hager or any of them?
Now that one, like, I mean, we didn't get a whole lot of story, but like I can make the jump in my mind to just being like, well, I mean, he was recruited to the team. They're like, hey, you're just gonna, you know what this is? It's brutal, ready to beat the shit out of someone. And he's like, fuck yeah, I love to fight.
Wouldn't it have been better? Wouldn't it have been better if his debut match he gets, you know, the victory taken away from him because of
there's
2.0?
a whole bunch of ways better, right? It didn't, to me, it didn't not make sense. It was just like, all right, well, it was easy, right? It was left to me to figure out. One thing,
because that's one thing I will say that I'd like to see more of is variety of debuts, right? Adam Cole makes his debut. Well, he made it during like the end of a pay-per-view, but the matches at least. Bryan Danielson won his debut and Adam Cole won his debut and Claudio won his debut. And it's like, hey, I'd rather someone has to fight their way to earn their spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They lost. They thought they were going to come in as the hot shot. Oh shit. Now we got to come back. More like an Eddie Kingston, right? Eddie Kingston comes in against Cody, loses, perseveres, gets signed, and now he's the biggest star in the company. I think
Fuego del Sol, right?
Exactly. No, not that bad, but yeah, a little bit. Just again, he could have lost this match, which then takes away the who will be the first person to beat him. We get that already taken out of the way, right? Because Zack Sabre Jr. did it. And then we get his motivation for a blood feud.
Yeah, and just for me, the Cesaro thing, like, it didn't fit all that great because the club is supposed to be this, like, we're going to teach the young kids.
Right.
You know what I mean? How to use violence to differentiate themselves and get themselves ahead, basically, because we love this sport and it's losing the violence of it.
Well, because that's one thing to bring
Claudio
up.
didn't fit that, right? Like, and I think you even tweeted, you were like, "Oh yeah, the time-honored wrestling move, the swing," right?
Yeah, the great technical move of the big swing.
Yeah,
you know, that's straight out of Coco Beware, and now we're gonna act like this is Bryan Danielson and John Moxley type violence. Like, come on,
right? Yeah, it just doesn't fit that group for me right now. The only other name I could think of also was Johnny Gargano, and I was like, well, he didn't fit it either. Out of those two, it was like, Cesaro fits.
It's better Claudio.
Right.
Yeah.
Claudio, right.
Yeah. If you give me Claudio or you give me Johnny Gargano for this role in Blackpool Combat Club, I'm going Claudio. However, I think now what brings this weird conundrum in the group is it felt like Bryan Danielson initially identified Wheeler Yuta as the young talent that they need to take to get to the next level. So they both beat the shit out of him. He earns their respect. He's in the group. So now does Claudio do that as well? Now does he identify a talent and is like, all three of us are beating the shit out of you, or all four of us, because you got Wheeler here too. So then you get in that way. It's like, no.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, and to me, it could just be like, they could say like, they could say, like, we brought this in to be a lead by example for you, Wheeler. Like, this is a guy whose only missing piece was getting to this level of violence. So we're going to show him, and then you can see, you know what I mean? Like
maybe.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, here's a more close to finished product, right? So you can see it in action. Yeah. And then they're getting on him. When he starts to do the swing, they come out and they're like, you fucking slit his throat. You know, fucking throw him around, you know?
Yeah.
Now, see, that's if it fit what they said it was supposed to be, but I don't feel like they've made it what it's supposed to be. They haven't really addressed it in that way anymore.
Yeah, I wish more that this group was the two elder statesmen is John Moxley, Bryan Danielson, and all they're doing is looking to the future. So they're grabbing Dante Martin and Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta and fucking even maybe the Ass Boys, right? Like, and they're like, fuck all this comedy shit. You're going to learn how to beat someone up.
You guys are
right?
ass, and we're going to show you
exactly.
And so beat some ass.
But now it's just like, but it's just 3 ex-WWE guys and a young boy.
And Wheeler.
Yeah, and Wheeler. Yeah, because so it took a pivot that I wasn't really wanting, but it happened, right? So let's move on. Then we got the IWGP World Title match. This was a fantastic match until the end. Apparently, Adam Cole Bay took a strike to the head and got a concussion. Boom. and they kind of went right to the finish. So it looks like he's out. Here's the other thing. Hangman. So he doesn't take the pin. However, he's beaten up from this whole match, right? The Young Bucks come out. Jay White they kind of him, right? They go to check on Adam Cole. And if you had to pay attention, you would have seen what the Young Bucks did. But again, the TV missed it. Production missed it. But the Young Bucks start to walk over to Hangman. And I can't remember who it was, but someone pulls them and is like, no, check on Adam Cole. Maybe it was the other one, right? One of them did, and the other one pulled him back. What do you think about this? Is this and the Young Bucks did a promo at Blood and Guts saying like all our friends are hurt except for one, but then they didn't mention who that one was. Is this Hangman or is this Kenny Omega that they're talking about?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know, maybe Omega. Man, I really would like to know what the next thing in the Hangman saga is, because I feel like it needs to be something focused if you're going to maintain him as this main event level player. Like, he has to be going through something right now, right? Or somebody's got to be an uber thorn in his side of a high level, right? Like, it's got to be not just somebody that we're like, oh yeah, they're in AEW too. I forgot about that. It's got to be something intense, right? Like, you can't do the Blackpool Combat Club because it's too new, right? But there's got to be like a major force in his way that he has to overcome.
I think Hangman still has unfinished business with a group that's deteriorating by the month, and that's the Dark Order. I think maybe flirt with the idea that Hangman goes heel and doesn't think that he needs the Dark Order assistance anymore. He kind of starts pushing them to the side to the point where he gets upset with them. And then he's having good matches with Colt Cabana, because that's, or 10. And you then have him kind of go through this trial by fire of like realizing who the fuck is really in his corner. The thing I don't necessarily want is just a rehash of, hey, they were in the Bullet Club together at one time.
Yeah.
Like,
don't want that.
Man.
Well, and I don't want, because we just addressed this too, I don't want Hangman to a long time ago we wanted this. Hangman leads the Dark Order. He starts becoming a little bit of a dark cowboy, right? But I just referenced everybody's doing the dark.
Everyone's dark.
I can't do
well,
that.
But it can be a little bit different than dark spooky. It can be Blackpool adjacent, where it's like, hey, Dark Order, you want to know why you're not getting TV time? Yeah. You want to know why I was champion? It's because you guys act like cowards. Like, we're going to teach you how to fight. Get rid of that mask, tin, and you know what I mean? Like,
so the Dark Order with a dark cowboy leading it can be, think Western, right? The cowboy in black, right? Yeah. Maybe lurking in the shadows, doing the evil villainous things, right? So you could have him leading, right? The Dark Order in that regard.
Right. And then have them, with the Western thing, you got some fun shit. You could have them kidnapping people. Remember like the fucking Dexter Loomis was doing in NXT with like taking Austin Theory and stuff? The Dark Order could do that to some people with Hangman calling the shots. And then again, that's when his ego can get out of control. Right. Someone then has to bring it down. And then we get Hangman back to the white cowboy, white horse cowboy,
I mean, first of all, the first thing you do is you free the Dark Order from the evil manipulation of the Hangman, and then you have him, you know what I mean? Right. Like go through
have a come to Jesus moment. Yeah,
right. Exactly.
Yeah, but again, I liked that the Young Bucks flirted with the idea of maybe reconciling with Hangman. Obviously, when he beat Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks kind of gave their nod of approval. So I think we have to revisit that when Kenny Omega comes back. I just don't think 2 years, more or less, of Hangman and the Young Bucks Kenny Omega thing is necessarily the best thing to do for all these people involved.
It won't lead to a spectacle, and we love spectacles.
We love spectacles. Now, speaking of spectacles, we got an interim AEW World Champion crowned. Jon Moxley beats Tanahashi up and takes the title. And then afterwards, we get, which will lead into Blood and Guts, the JAS coming out, and they beat up on everyone, which then brings out Claudio because he's now a Blackpool Combat Club. And we instantly got what I thought was the best part of this whole thing. Eddie Kingston saying, I don't like that guy. I don't like that fucking guy right there.
I don't like that fucking guy.
I don't like that fucking guy. I love that moment. So that was interesting, right? Because they referenced that Eddie Kingston and Claudio have history in other organizations.
Yep. Excalibur even mentioned it on the Blood and Guts. He said these guys hate each other, even when they were maybe not looking like they hated each other in the moment on top of the cage. But good on Excalibur for trying to make that
trying
work.
Hey, they got the victory. Right. Let's kind of they're in a moment of glory. They're not thinking of their rivalry, right? Like it's one of those things.
They're saying like there's some tension there still. Like watch out, because that's got to be coming, right? I think so.
Let's work backwards. Let's go right into the main event of Blood and Guts, which was the Blood and Guts match. You had the Jericho Appreciation Society taking on Santana Ortiz, Eddie Kingston, and the Blackpool Combat Club. First off, what did you think of just Blood and Guts 2? Was this more impressive than Blood and Guts 1?
Yes.
What'd you like?
I liked it better for Blood and Guts than Blood and Guts 1. The JAS is good about coming out looking like a boy band. Like, you really don't want to like these guys at all, right? Like,
Daniel Garcia, when he walked into the ring wearing a do-rag, was just the most obnoxious thing you could
looking
do.
Like Vince McMahon out there with it. Well, they even referenced, I think it was like JR when he was like, hey, convince Jake Hager to wear that outfit. Like, he's a good salesman.
Yeah,
it's good stuff. And then just the crowd was so into it, right? I mean, all the intros for everybody on the other side were killing it. And then just the match. I mean, Santana got hurt, which is unfortunate, and that kind of threw everybody for a loop. And this is where we got so I want to give them a little bit of credit. This is where we got some of the hey, there's a lot of talking going on here. But I think you could kind of see words starting to spread to each of the performers, like, hey, fuck. You know what I mean? Like, Santana's out.
Don't touch him, and his spots need to be taken over by Yuta or Moxley or whatever it is. Yeah.
Right, yeah, whatever they do there. And so, I mean, I want to give them a little bit of credit there. But, other than that, just the spots, the way they worked to the top. And I kind of appreciate it, too. It was reinforced up there. I don't know if you know, the spots where they needed to be wasn't going to fall through. So good on them for that.
Well, and again, I hate to bring up a criticism because I love this show and I also love Forbidden Door so much. But we had a spinoff of this feud with Tay Conti and Ruby Soho because they did a fantastic job of kind of telling you what this story was with the video package, which featured Ruby Soho saying Eddie Kingston trusts 3 people. I'm lucky to be one of them. So Tay Conti tries to intervene in this matchup by letting Jericho out of the cage. Ruby Soho comes out. So now we get Ruby Soho to do something. Tay Conti does something. So that's a great fun spinoff from this match. And then, yes, all of the spots were great. Angelo hanging upside down, blood coming out of his forehead, looked like a reverse crucified.
The one of my favorite spots was he's getting beat up in the corner and he looks directly in the camera and he just grabs it and pulls it into the other guy.
It's perfect.
So good. You see the realization in his eyes. I was like, that was great. He'd been like, hey, I got this spot idea. And it's so great. It looks so fun.
Matt Menard took skewers to his forehead from John Moxley because, again, let's not forget the GCW
Mr. Magic,
heavyweight.
Right? Is that what it is?
Well,
Mr. Magic?
Yeah.
Matt Menard?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? I forget what. Magic Man, Matt Menard? Whatever.
Sure. But the champion of GCW is a guy that puts skewers in your head, John Moxley. So I like that he brought some GCW into this matchup because that's what GCW is known for right now. I mean, other than ultra violence, the skewer thing is kind of their thing right now. I like that. I did like how they worked their way to the top. The big swing, even though the big swing is an obnoxious move, that's more of a pro wrestling move. Yeah, that's up there. You throw that motherfucker really off. I thought that was
if he
fun.
Trips and falls,
yeah, that's a scary spot.
Maybe we move that to the middle, guys.
Yeah. Speaking of getting thrown off, though, we get the big spot. Sammy Guevara gets thrown off from Eddie Kingston. What'd you think of that?
That one. Credit to Sammy Guevara for executing this fall perfectly, right? Because when he first lunged him off and he's head down, I was like, fuck! And he, you know what I mean? Just laid out in a full, body turnover and just landed perfectly on that spot. I was like, wow, this is better, right? Sammy Guevara can do the in-air movements for a fall like this to land more safely than the last time we did this, right?
Yeah.
But man, what a spot too. And I mean, they did it well, right? Castagnoli, it looked like he legit was just yeeted the motherfucker right off of the damn. You know what I mean?
Eddie Kingston.
Oh yeah, it was Eddie Kingston. That's right. Yeah, Eddie Kingston did that part, right? Yeah, because he's like, "You stupid motherfucker," right?
Yeah.
And then right, that's right. It was Eddie, right? But he just literally like just took his arm, and was like, "See ya," and just what I mean, just one movement. Like it wasn't an over dramatic thing. It was like, "Get the fuck off of here," and he fucking fell like I mean, it looked natural. It was great. I loved it.
And another thing that I thought was great, and again, you're seeing it right between us here, Eddie Kingston, is so many times with the big spot, the other guy, whoever that is, right? So like when Shane McMahon got thrown off by Shane McMahon jumped off, but I think it was someone recently just got thrown off. I think it was maybe Sami Zayn by Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
Anyhow, let's even go back to the most historical one. Undertaker throwing Mick Foley off, right? The other guy typically then goes like, and break, right? Like they're just going like, hopefully that guy's fine, but let's take a break.
The camera is on the dead guy.
Yeah. But Eddie Kingston pulled the, like, this was fun, right? Like he could have legitimately been hurt, but Eddie Kingston is thinking the story is I'm happy that he's hurt. So he gives you that sinister smile that you're seeing right now. If you're watching the YouTube.
Yep.
And I thought that was another great detail and why I think, honest to God, Eddie Kingston is the best pro wrestler in all of pro wrestling is because of little things like that, where he says people are going to look at Sammy, but they're also going to see what I'm doing. And I'm going to be,
if we were listing the top 5 right now, Eddie Kingston's number 1, easy on the list. My, like top 5 of who's your favorite right now. On our Twitch chat, Theo said, yeah, throw him over the top rope and see ya. And then he said flips off T-Mac. I don't know if he's got you and Theo got a beef going on.
Bring it. Come to Kansas City. Fine, anytime.
No, a great spot. Man, God, that was fun. And I legit, right when he threw him off, I was like, woo! Like for a second until I saw Sammy kind of, continue the motion and lay out. I was like, all right. Woo. For a second, I was like, oh no, he killed him.
Yeah.
Like,
so now let's get into the finish of this match. Because again, there was violence everywhere. Everyone had blood. John Moxley did his part. Willard did his part. Santana and Ortiz had their fun. But we get to the end, and Eddie Kingston has that submission that he got Jericho to tap out with at pay-per-view, which started this whole thing.
Yep.
But behind him, Claudio has the sharpshooter on the weakest member, I guess you could say, of the JAS. And he taps before Chris Jericho does, which then doesn't give the satisfaction of Eddie Kingston getting Jericho to quit.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is this the start of Claudio and Eddie Kingston, or what do we get from here?
I think a lot of this was done a little bit poorly in the aspect of like, we didn't get like, you could tell Eddie was kind of like, is it done? Like you know what I mean? Like there was no bell ring, right? They missed that kind of thing or whatever.
But I think that was the point. I think it was the Eddie Kingston doesn't get the revenge. He still didn't.
Oh yeah, no. And we're still getting there. But I think like, even he kind of like, I think he didn't know like it's time to pull the spot, right? Like it's time to be like, I think they missed something there. And then the announcers were trying to put that in there without, it just felt forced, right? Like, I think I would have let their emotions play out more so, but maybe, like you said, maybe Eddie was like, fuck, I can't get up right now. Give me a second. So then they kind of had to roll in with that. But yes, it is that. He's going to be like, it's going to be great because we've talked about this where the real aspect of Eddie Kingston as the everyman hero is that Eddie Kingston is deeply flawed as well. Right? So he's going to be like, you motherfucker, you stole my spot. You did that on purpose. You knew it was my spot. And he's going to be like, dude, we were winning a match. What are you talking about? And he's going to be like, no, you know what I'm fucking talking about because it's fucking you and you're a dick. And like Eddie Kingston's kind of right? Like he's going to be kind of right. But in that moment, everybody's going to be like, dude, relax. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't the time. He's going to be like, no, fuck him. He's a dick. And they're going to be like, notwithstanding though, but you're wrong here. Like he needed to win the match. Was he not going to put the guy in the fucking sharpshooter or whatever? Right? Like that's stupid. Like what if you pass out? Like he needs to be winning too, and they'd be like, fuck him. Right? Like that's what we connect to because that's real. Like we have these emotions that we can't really fully explain. Right? That's why we all need therapy.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I think this is what's the best attribute of Eddie Kingston is no program feels like a start-stop, right? It doesn't feel like we went from this to now to this. Everything is just a continuous momentum of him, right? And now we went into this to where I think you're going to get Eddie Kingston almost jealous and envious that Claudio got the win when this all started with me, Eddie Kingston, and I needed to be the one that put the exclamation on the feud. I needed to be the one. And now he starts to get psychotic and almost starts alienating himself from a John Moxley, from Santana and Ortiz. And now maybe we go right into a heel turn and he's going psychotic and thinks everyone's out to get him and no one has his back. And that kind of makes sense. But then it's like, you took it too far, Eddie. And that's relatable, like you said. So this is where the fun thing happens. Or another pivot you could do is Claudio maybe goes, hey, we all know I'm better than you. We needed to finish this. I wasn't going to wait for you and old man Jericho to go another 45 minutes. So I put a pin in it and we got the win. So let's move on. And then he kind of goes like, ain't I the savior of blood and guts? And then Eddie Kingston can do is, I told you, motherfuckers, this is the guy who,
and he can even say the things you said, but be like, and yes, I did steal the spotlight because like, you left it open to be stolen because you weren't getting the job done. Right. This is the stuff we've never seen from Claudio Castagnoli. This is the stuff I'm talking about. So maybe that Blackpool Combat Club can get more out of that, right? Like, let's put him in situations where it's not just like where he's got to get over in a singular feud with one guy, right? I think this Eddie Kingston thing will help to spark it, but like we've got all the other players in and around that are connected that'll help with this.
Oh, I mean, we could have a lot of fun here because then the other person that's kind of the link that connects them is our interim heavyweight champion, John Moxley. And if he's put between a rock and a hard place, what is he going to do? Choose this new combat club that has his allegiance to, or his best friend, Eddie Kingston, who saved his life in the death match a couple of years ago. Right. And so then this is the fun part about it. You could write it to where you could run back John Moxley versus Eddie Kingston with the roles reversed. Eddie Kingston now is the babyface. John Moxley is the one who's turning his back to him. And Eddie Kingston's the one saying, I told Renee that I'd never let you get this egotistical. I told Renee. And then, John Moxley's doing the thing like, you don't say her name, and like turning his back, kind of like how Eddie did when they did that promo before the I Quit match.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have so much fun.
Oh, I mean, he's telling Moxley, like, you're going to side with this Blackpool Combat Club? Like, I've been in combat with you. Are these people going to stab a guy in the throat with a beer bottle in a bar? No, they're not. But I did that, allegedly. Exactly. And so, that's that would be great.
Yeah, this is where, again, we have so many different angles. And with AEW storytelling, again, 3 years in, they've yet to tell a real dud outside of Cody and Anthony Ogogo. But other than that, Cody ain't there anymore. Yeah. Other than that, they've kind of hit. But they've at least hit doubles, if not home runs, with all their storylines. So this is where you get Eddie Kingston, Claudio, John Moxley, William Regal could insert himself some way as well. I'm most excited going forward with what happens from here with this whole fallout. And then Jericho Appreciation Society, they'll be fine. Jericho can then, bump into the best friends. Yeah, he can go back with Orange Cassidy, anyone he wants. He can bump into Keith Lee, have Keith Lee and Jericho. There you go. All right, okay. That'd be fun.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, because here's the thing. One thing I didn't want to necessarily it stuck out to like a sore thumb to me, but I didn't necessarily want to harp on it too much. But going back to Forbidden Door and going to Blood and Gut, just Forbidden Door, there was no black people on the main card.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's a lot of white dudes. And I get it. They're good. And I get the New Japan, but I'm saying of AEW. So that's not great. So that's why I'm saying elevate Keith Lee to a Jericho status and get him over a little bit more.
Yep. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, it's like what came to mind was Wardlow. Let's say Wardlow wins the U.S. title, then Jericho comes sniff around. He's like, I want that one.
Yeah.
And Wardlow's
that's
like,
easy.
Nah. And then you got 6 dudes being like, no, he wants that one.
And he's like, okay.
And he's like, okay, fine. And then, he gets to feud with them for a little bit. Yeah.
That would be perfect. Yeah, because next
Keith Lee could do a similar thing. Like the exact kind of thing. Yep.
But next week, speaking of Wardlow, we get a street fight, Wardlow versus champion Scorpio Sky for the TNT Championship. That should be fun. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But let's reset and go all the way back to the start of this show. We talked about the 1 hour main event, Blood and Guts, but it kicked off with Orange Cassidy taking on All Ego Ethan Page. I absolutely loved every single thing about this,
Yeah.
from Dan Lambert's promo to him kicking out the best friends because they don't have a manager's license, to the finish being a body slam. It was It was great.
Yeah, Dan Lambert even went
he did
on it.
And he's for real about that.
I know.
Too.
Yeah, I know.
Donald Trump holds fucking fundraisers at American Top Team with Jorge Masvidal, so don't forget that.
Oh yeah. Well, they're good thinkers. All right.
Yeah, obviously.
So,
but what do you think of Orange Cassidy winning with a body slam over All Ego?
Perfect. This is how, when we say you tell a story in there, like, this made it a spectacle, and as we've said, we love spectacles. And so, like, it made it feel bigger, from him holding him up in the the razor's edge, and him trying to put his hands in his pockets and him ripping him out and putting him back in. Like, everything here was done great. And shout out to Ethan Page. I mean, he knew how to work as the big man here.
Oh, he's great. Yeah,
it was so great. I want to shout out at Devil Vamp on Twitter. By the way, use hashtag tweet the table on Twitter, and we'll read them right here like we're doing with at Devil Vamp. Says, Orange Cassidy might be the most underrated wrestler of all time. Hashtag for real. Hashtag tweet the table. Hashtag Forbidden Door. I mean, I would have to start making a list. I don't know that I can speak to it off the top of my head of who's the most underrated wrestlers of all time. But, I mean, he's going to be in that list of a few, right?
I will say, he did win a match where the crowd cheered, and it was with a body slam in 2022. Yes, right. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. I started to see, like, this is where people, I think, we're all in the age of hot takes, right? Everyone has a podcast. We've been doing it close to 9 years. Everyone else has been doing it, for a number of years as well. So we always have to analyze and get really deep with what we're seeing and stuff. Like, this alone was a very fun matchup. It has nothing to do with, like, is Ethan Page now going to start losing on Dark? Is Ethan Page just getting lost in the shuffle? It's like, no, he provided a very entertaining match with Orange Cassidy that got the crowd hyped to start blood and guts. Like that, they'd all hit their marks here. We don't have to do the super analyzing of, like, so what does this mean? Is Scorpio Sky just going to break off from American Top Team because he's obviously a better than Ethan Page?
I think what this means is Ethan Page can help get your stars more over.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, he's the one who sold for this. He's the one who looked like he was going to beat his ass and was making fun of him. Like, he was the bully, and he played it to perfection here.
Yeah, did awesome. Now, I will say, even though I just said all of those things of, like, hey, stop analyzing Ethan Page's losses and things like that, I will say, on the other side of the coin, it would be nice to see Ethan Page get some more victories on Dynamite. I know he gets them on Dark and Elevation, but I'm saying on the TV proper.
We've said this, like, he can do all the things, right? Like, I mean, he's good on the mic. He can work all these different styles. You don't want to like this guy when he's trying to be a heel. Like, he's another one who, like, we like the heels, you know what I mean? Like, we like the heels, and we kind of grin and we kind of secretly root for the heels and things, but, like, these are the guys, the good heels are the ones that make it hard to do, right? Where you're like, I don't really like that guy. I kind of want to punch his face, right?
And credit to him. Yeah, and credit to him because, at least if you listen to this podcast, when he debuted as the Joker in that ladder match, we're like, really, that's who it was? And we're kind of down on him, but through perseverance of just telling good stories with Christian Cage, Sting, or not Christian Cage, excuse me, Darby Allin, Sting, and all of those people, now he's like, yeah, I could see him in a feud with anyone. Hangman Adam Page. Again, I think that kind of devalues Hangman as far as, like, he needs to go back up, but still, they would tell a good story.
Well, yeah, but
together.
I think, I mean, if we were to get Ethan Page on the road back up, he's one who could handle that story well. Yes.
All right, so now let's get into what I thought was the most shocking moment of the entire weekend. More than Claudio debuting in AEW. In the next segment, we had Christian Cage cutting a promo, and he cuts deeper than deep with "I wish your whole family was dead," Jungle Boy, and then comes out at the very end going, "So I requested a match, and you might be wondering why I'm dressed like this. The match wasn't for me." And we get Dinosaur Kane coming out, Luchasaurus.
The Dark Dinosaur.
The Dark Dinosaur.
The Darkosaur.
This was a curveball, was it not?
No, it definitely was a curveball because I thought we were going to get more of the like conflicting trying to convince him, but no, we didn't get to see that. So maybe we get that revealed down the road. But he's already gone to the dark side where we got him, we spray painted his mask. We got him some black, pants.
We got him fire when he walks out, all the stuff.
Yeah. Love this. And Christian, okay, so you addressed this last thing. You were like, man, I think he unloaded the gun too soon with the father's dead thing. And I was listening to Busted Open Radio, and it was Bully Ray talking, and Bully Ray brought me to the light. I'm going to say this because they were talking about how great Christian is, right? And he was
of course.
He was like, don't think that like Christian, like he was like, what's next? Like he's like, you're gonna see. He was like, Christian will have something worse for the very next episode. And he was like, this is nothing new to Christian. And they brought this kind of what I said here about like Ethan Page having this ability to do this. So he brought up the fact that like if MJF is off TV and you need a heel who will go out there and just say the worst of the things, he's like, Christian Cage is that guy in AEW. And he was like, and Christian Cage just now got Jungle Boy over, maybe even getting him over more than he's been, and he's not even in the fucking building. Right? Yeah. Like he's just Christian is the guy also where, again, love him. I've loved Christian. I think I've sung Christian's praises since we started this podcast. But in these moments, you're like, fuck that guy. You know what I mean? He makes it so hard. You're like, fuck his skinny turtleneck ass. Don't say that shit. Right? Like, so you wish his whole family was dead?
Well, except for his mom.
Except for his mom. And then does the call. Christian is so great. Christian.
What a dickhead.
Christian might be my most underrated wrestler of all time, which is hard to say because he's won a couple titles and stuff like that.
Right.
So maybe that,
but still,
when you start ranking what means underrated, but like for somebody who I think is underrated, even like I would have given the title to Christian 14 times. You know what I mean? Like he's just such a great heel, especially as the heel, right? And I'm excited for this. I'm excited for the Darkosaurus that we've got, right? Like the shock was like, because even when he said it wasn't for me, I was like, who? Right? I was like, Jungle Boy's not wrestling as far as I thought. I think he's injured, right? Slightly, like for a short period. So I was like, I'm gonna put him in a match. If he was here, he would have came out bum rushing already. So I'm like, I'm trying to go through the mental gymnastics, and then it's the Darkosaurus Rex or whatever we're gonna call him.
Yeah,
love it.
Dinosaur
Love
Kane.
it. Yes, love it. Excited to see.
Well, and here's the other thing: it's a win-win for Luchasaurus because either he comes out as filling the void of what Wardlow was, where it's this dastardly heel who's going to kick everyone's ass and kind of like a hired gun, or we're going to get the reconciliation of Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, and then that's going to be awesome and give him another title run because, they could always use that. So like he's in a win-win position here by instantly going heel.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Yeah, because that's the thing is like this feud is Christian Cage, the antagonist, Jungle Boy, the protagonist. That leaves Luchasaurus out, right? And that sucks because he's a big bastard that could beat the shit out of Christian, so we think, right? So he can't really be also a good guy being like, fuck you, because then you have 2-on-1, and that's not what the story is. So instantly flipping him as his Diesel right now to the Shawn Michaels
that turn
comes, Cage.
But when that turn comes and you hope, at least for me, that I hope him and Jungle Boy get back together. Oh, we're all, we might cry. That might be Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth because they're so great together.
Theo in the Twitch chat, follow us on Twitch, says that Christian Cage promo reminded us of how he does not like us peeps. Yeah. He likes one. Jungle Boy's mom.
Yeah. So here's a question for you.
Honestly, she should call him.
For her son's sake. For Christ's sake, you know what I mean?
Rich, right?
Well, yeah, and you don't want him to kill your son, so call the guy. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Well, he's been around the world. He may know a thing or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. So here's the question for you.
He might have traveled with Ric Flair. I'm sure he gave him some tips.
Easy. So last week, Christian, when he was being choked,
yes,
mentions Marco Stunt. This week, Luchasaurus instantly goes heel, beats up on Serpentico, who's Marco Stunt just a little taller. So do you think we see Marco Stunt in a one-off appearance
Maybe. But I love that Serpentico was about shitting his pants once he realized that it was.
By the way,
Luchasaurus.
did you see his record? Did you see his record? It was 13-83.
There's no way he's actually had that many matches and fucking.
I think so. But like, why do you gotta post that for the poor guy?
Yeah, can't you do the this year record?
Yeah, do something. But 13-83.
But I love that. Because that was real too, right? He was like, "Wait a minute, I thought this was Christian. I'm not fighting that fucking guy. Like, look at him. Fuck. Why is his mask black? Fuck. He's gonna kill me."
Yeah, thought it was great. Perfect segment. I thought it was again, Blood and Guts was the moment of the night, but this was the swerve of the weekend.
It was
the
a
swerve
spectacle.
Of the week. It was a spectacle of the weekend for sure.
And we love spectacles.
And we do love spectacles. Let's get to another one. We had Max Caster and the Gun Club walking out. Max Caster, a little bit of a tune change here where he's not playing fun. Hey, we're calling them the Ass Boys. He almost sympathizes now with the Gun Club being called the Ass Boys. And he's like, you're not going to call him that. First off, his rap was amazing. He points out the Flint water. He points out so many things.
That's that towing the line where you're like, ooh, man, was that kind of
Well, and he even said, he's like, I think he said it on his Instagram story, but he's like, don't be mad at me that your government failed you. Like, I'm just saying what happened,
right.
But so
it's kind of like the Epstein didn't kill himself statement. It's like, yeah, everybody knows, but it's to remind you, like, hey, fucking. So bringing light to the Flint thing is now not like shitting on the people of Flint and saying like, hey, you fuckers are still fucking them over.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuckers.
So we get Max Caster and the Gun Club coming out with Anthony Bowen, which I mentioned is not hurt, but at the time looked like it was. And Billy Gunn taking on Danhausen and a mystery team. And Danhausen, again, it's the details that makes it great. And for him to come out and is like, so I guess I got to do this. And AEW got me. I found a team. They're an AEW team. Here they are. And it's fucking FTR.
Well, he's like, I think they're kind of good at wrestling.
Yeah, I think they're. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Everyone should be loving me, but these guys are cool too.
I heard they're pretty good at tag team wrestling. And they come out with their 6 belts, and the crowd went nuts. And Danhausen is so fun, man. And he's another one who, much like Orange Cassidy, can just have the crowd eating out of the palm of his hand.
Oh yeah, and that was the other line that made me pop is when Max Caster said, "How are you gonna cheer for a white guy doing whiteface?"
Yeah. Yeah, after he called him a juggalo. Yeah, you gonna cheer for a white guy doing whiteface?
I laughed so hard.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So great. Yeah, Max Caster, and that's why I think they need to at least take the Ring of Honor championships when FTR decides to, relinquish all these belts. But what we get here is Anthony Bowen comes in. He's not hurt. He has his crutch. He goes to hit Danhausen. Danhausen curses him, which then obviously fucks him because then he misses Danhausen, hits Ass Boy 2. Mm-hmm. Ass Boy 2 falls down.
That's the taller one, right? Ass Boy 2. Yeah.
I don't know. And Danhausen and FTR get the victory here, but then post-match, there's a little dissension, and Billy Gunn turns heel on his sons.
I mean, I think this one, we might get a little more longer play out, right? I think that's where it's going. But I don't know if the crowd's going to let him. I think the Ass Boys might be the heels to start this, right? They need a lot more work if they're going to do it the other way around, which they should, but.
I really think, honestly, again, Claudio kind of screwed the narrative here. But Blackpool Combat Club needs a tag team. It's not like you can't get too big because they're not the NWO. Just
so there's
say,
that. All right. So
have Bryan Danielson just be like, hey, so I saw your dad doesn't like you. You want to learn how to really fight? Come with some men over here. Your dad was never that tough. And then
he was always kind of a dick to us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because they all fucking, you know what I mean? Like we remember him from training and shit. Like he's fucking
Well, and they could easily say, like, what you're going to win matches with the famouser?
Yeah.
Like, let's teach you some real wrestling moves. And
so
then
that's it, right? So yes, he kind of does this thing, like kind of basically tells them to kick rocks. Like, these guys got more future ahead of them. Like, you guys fuck off. And they're like, hey, fuck you, right? But like they're, so they're down in the dumps. We get the Acclaimed and whatever to kind of go on. Crowd's still going to love them and daddy ass and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the Blackpool Comeback Club comes around like some groomers, and they're like, hey, listen.
Even better than Bryan Danielson, have William Regal walk up. Hey, I know your dad.
Hey,
I wrestled your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's not going to show you anything.
Here's the thing. He was just like you. He didn't know shit. The problem is he never learned shit. But you can be different. You can show him a better way.
And then Willie or Yuta's like, follow us, man. Like, look what I'm doing.
Yeah, and as they're kind of like, all right, okay, maybe, then that's where you have like Moxley and Daniel Bryan just come out from behind and just choke him out, and then like, you know what I mean? Then all of a sudden they're in the group.
Well, then they do a tag match, right? It's Moxley and Danielson. They beat the shit out of them. Then they do a singles match with Ass Boy 1 versus Yuta, loses again. And then they realize, and then the entire time William Regal's like, hey, you're doing fine. And then Billy Gunn can come in. I was like, hey, what are you doing? And they're like, shut up. Go with your Acclaim pals. This doesn't concern you.
Dance and sing and do raps. That's what all you ever did anyway.
Yeah, here's some scissors.
Violence.
Oh, they just throw him some scissors and walk away. You shouldn't throw scissors, but you know what I'm saying? Like, hands him some scissors. And then
TBS is not going to allow this.
But then you get the Blackpool Combat Club, Gun Club, saying we're going after the fun shucking and jiving Acclaim guys. And then we got some fun stuff. William Regal in one corner, Billy Gunn in another. And the other thing, one more thing I want to say though, is eventually, because we got this weird thing with like Bryan Danielson admitting that he is a heel walking out of the heel tunnel, but then Yuta and Claudio walking out of the babyface tunnel, and then Moxley coming through the crowd because he's just Moxley, I think eventually, even though that is a fun dynamic, I think eventually William Regal needs to take the helm of this group and say, like, we're all going evil. Like, the way to do this is the way Bryan Danielson does it. So we're all, and that's where William Regal can get into the Gun Club's ear to the point where Billy Gunn's like, no, they're my boys, right? Like, I love them. They're coming home with me. And then we get another sentimental hug moment, right? Like,
no, that's when we actually get the turn to the Ass Boys. They're not, you know what I mean? They're not the Blackpool Combat Club.
They're not the Gun Club.
The Gun Club.
Yeah.
They're the Ass Boys. I'm Daddy Ass. I'm here to get my ass boys.
Exactly. That's what you do. That is perfect. That is exactly what you do. All right, let's get back into
it would be a spectacle, goddammit.
It will be a spectacle. Let's get back into another spectacle. Must-see TV. I think I say this every time on Twitter when she comes in. But we had a TBS championship match on TBS, which was great. But we had champion Jade Cargill, who is money.
God.
Taking on Layla Gray. This was essentially one-way traffic here. Jade Cargill wins, but then Stokely Hathaway. Now, I want to ask you one thing. He said, we issued an open challenge, and we had one girl who doesn't even get a W-2 here trying to sign the form, but you know who didn't? Athena and Chris Statlander. My question to you is, that girl that doesn't have the W-2 that was trying to sign the open challenge, was that Sasha Banks?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe. I think that might be where.
I don't want that.
I don't want that either.
Unless Jade just like demolishes her, that would be perfect.
Yeah, well, they're not going to do that.
Tim, they are going to.
So
they're not going to do that.
No, but the thing at the end here is what starts happening. I forget who's why the baddies are getting attacked here at the end of this, right?
No. Stokely Hathaway and Jade Cargill grab the mic. Jade Cargill's like, Stokely, find me some real competition.
Right.
Then Stokely Hathaway cuts the promo. Chris Statlander and Athena run out, and then Layla Gray As no. I'm like a Blackpool Combat Club kind of initiation.
Well,
I'm joining.
They alluded
as
like
a baddie.
Stokely picked her up and said something to her, right?
Yeah, it's
and
like,
then,
no, you got to get in here. This is your opportunity. And she's like, all right, cool.
But I like that
So-
even
so
Jade was
nice.
like, bitch, don't fucking.
Yeah, we're not
You
friends.
know what I mean? Like,
Get in line.
miss me with that. It's like shooing her away. Like, fuck that. So I like this too. That whoever she's got with her, it's Smart Mark Sterling or it's Stokely, is that like she still is like, you're an idiot. Like she's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you got to ask me this shit, you dumbass, right? Like, and keeps like fucking like, Jesus Christ, I got to deal with these morons. Like everywhere she goes. That's another great little aspect. Like with the Tony cut the shit, right? Like everybody's an idiot. Like fucking.
Well, yeah, because she's the star, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not. We're not getting Stokely Hathaway over in this story. It's Jade Cargill is making sure. Yeah, Stokely can say his fun little one-liners and come to Jesus and all those fun little, lines that he says. But the story is me. Now, Tim, I did just convince myself though. They keep showing the 36-0, 40-0. It's going to get to, and it's going to be Sasha Banks who breaks.
Which will be Mercedes, whatever. Her name
Mercedes,
is, right?
yeah. And it's going to be her that I might puke in my mouth if that happens, Tim.
Yeah, then she'll be holding the. Yep. And she'd do it too. I think she likes wrestling, so she's not the type to just be like, I demand the world title right away. Like, you know what I mean? So it'll be.
No, well, yeah, but then she's also going to be like, and then I want to take the title over to Stardom because I want to wrestle in Tokyo. And Tony Khan's like, okay, great, let's do that. And then how does she fail forward in life and everything? God, really? A talentless hack is going to beat my princess Jade Cargill? Hate this.
I mean, if you're thinking about who is a big enough name to beat Jade Cargill, it doesn't exist in AEW right now. So unfortunately, it would have to be one of these multi-time champions that only would come from WWE. So if it's not her, it would be a Charlotte Flair, which, I mean, that relationship could always go sour in the same way this one did.
Oh, and look, she's married to Andrade, so she might want to go hang out with her husband. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, you know what I mean? It would take somebody to that level. Honestly, I mean, like, if it's not one of those 4 horsewomen, right? Like, I don't know who it could be the way you've built Jade Cargill right now.
And I will say, look, I don't mean that Sasha Banks is a talentless hack. All of her matches are fantastic.
Sure.
I just don't like her. She is repulsive.
I also think she's not like. I think this is an even matchup here because I think Jade Cargill's still learning the ropes, and I think Sasha Banks has always been better than average, but not by a whole lot, right?
Right.
And on the
Jade
mic,
Cargill,
less. Like I think she's below average.
Oh yeah. Well, Jade Cargill in a promo battle with Sasha Banks is going to
destroy
mop
her.
the floor. Yeah,
she is everything Sasha Banks has tried to be in her career.
I've said that.
Yeah.
I've said that on her Twitter. Is Jade Cargill is what Sasha Banks wishes she was. The other thing though is because of how powerful she is, and Sasha does do a great job of selling. This will be fun with Jade Cargill throwing her around from the second rope, top rope, whatever it is. It'll be a fun matchup, but I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think it'll be Athena. I don't think it'll be Statlander. I think something happens between those two to where the infighting creates that story.
Good.
But
yeah, well, Theo in the Twitch chat says when Sasha returns, she will be jobbed out the rest of the year. Well, that's if she goes WWE, and I'd be fine with that too. But that's I don't know if that's what we're getting from the way it sounded.
I would be so happy if she went back to WWE. Here's the thing. One thing that I get very tired of is I watch these wrestling YouTube channels because I don't follow WWE, but I just want to keep my ear to it. Because if something crazy does happen, Vince leaves the company, I want to then tune back in and know what's going on. Right. But then before that, they always have the news, you know. I'm tired of people like, this is a confusing story. Now Sasha Banks may still be in play. It's going to happen one way or the other. Just watch TV. You're either going to see her in AEW or you're going to see her back in WWE. You don't need to know. You don't need to know.
Yeah,
just
you will
let her
know eventually.
You will know. It's going to happen. Right. Something's going to happen. just be surprised.
Or it doesn't, like you said, and she starts being like, I can do, Tyler Perry movies and shit. It's like, all right, we'll fucking go do that.
Go into that Disney thing that she did. Wasn't she in Disney something? Star Wars something. Go do that. I don't care.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you're a great actress. All right, never mind.
Just don't beat Jade Cargill, which you probably will do. But Jade Cargill is our queen at the Spanish announce table. She always has a seat at the Spanish announce table because we praise be to Jade Cargill. I don't know why I'm turning this into a sermon, but Jade Cargill is our champion. We got a few certified G's here at the Spanish announce table. Eddie Kingston, Hangman Adam Page, and Jade Cargill are just to name a couple.
Theo X75 on the Twitch again says, yeah, Jade Cargill is the blueprint.
Oh yeah. She's the best. I just think she's great.
Yeah.
She is. I mean, yeah, there's nothing bad about her.
So she plays the big man role perfectly. She's doing it great. Has picked it up with Kurt Angle level swiftness, right?
Yep.
Embodies the character perfectly, like we said. Everything Sasha Banks was supposed to be with the boss and the fucking you can't touch me, what the fuck are you gonna do about it, is Jade Cargill, and it comes across as real. Like, she's probably not that way in real life, and I would be shocked because I'm like, God damn, she's the fucking, you know what I mean? Like, she's the queen, like you said.
Yeah, she can. I assume she's a very pleasant person to be around, but this isn't too far away from if you took her parking spot. You know what I mean? Like, this is who you'd see. And
Tell me, you wouldn't be intimidated if Jade Cargill rolls out and is like, motherfucker, you stole my parking spot. You'd be like, listen, I'm getting out now.
Here's my keys.
I was making sure there wasn't a bomb in it for you. I'm gonna get out of here.
Yeah. You want my car? Yeah. Here's my wallet. Whatever you need.
Your fucking car, nerd. Yeah, sorry, ma'am. Sorry, I'm an idiot. Sorry.
I'll buy your groceries.
Sorry. How do you have that many abs? I'm sorry. God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's the best. So that was blood and guts. Because then again, the main event is what we talked about. The main event of JAS versus Blackpool Combat Club, Santana Ortiz, and the man Eddie Kingston. Which, one other point I want to bring up: Jon Moxley's your interim champion, but he still is your champion, right? With CM Punk's broken foot. The guy that was getting the cheers, it wasn't Moxley. I mean, it was, but like, it wasn't Moxley. It wasn't Jericho. It wasn't Sammy. It wasn't Santana Ortiz. It was Eddie. They were chanting Eddie Kingston.
Yeah, and this is kind of, you said we could lead into this. I mean, I don't know how long Punk is out, but it could be as simple as Moxley's interim champion. You run this thing with the Claudio Eddie thing. That starts to break apart the relationship after Eddie conquers Claudio, which I would have him do here. Then you go after Moxley, and I mean, then you got a shot where Kingston could actually hold a title victory,
but
and then him up against Punk for the.
That's the thing. Right. So then you have dissension with the Blackpool Combat Club, because if you want to keep Moxley the pseudo baby face, you could have Danielson and Claudio kick him out of the group, right? And then they become wrestling purists. That would be what cost Moxley the championship to Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston's like, I'm the everyman. Look at me. I'm sitting on top of my throne. This is the greatest day of my life. And then the number one person that he hates more than anyone in AEW just comes back out and is like, hey, pal. And he's like, motherfucker.
Yeah. Great and that's title there.
Yeah.
Like, fuck. Like, yeah. As he's holding it high, just victorious, like, oh, I did it. I finally did it. Then the fucking CM Punk music hits, and he's just like, I'm going to fucking kill him. I'm going to fucking kill him. And they just start on site. Just fucking, could be great.
And you don't have to do much, right? You just have to remember what they said, and they still feel the same way. We're going to do it title for title. And there you go. That's how I'm writing it. That's what you do. Eddie Kingston for president.
God damn it. Tony Khan, I know you're watching. And I know you listen back later. You watch and then listen later as well. You should hire us.
You should hire us, but honest to God, Tony, you should hire a new production crew before us. We will definitely help you, but you're doing great. But your production crew is the shits.
We'll only accept the offer if you
let
us hire a production crew for you.
Yeah, you get rid of your producers and your camera guys and girls, and then we'll put in a new crew to help take that to the next level. And then we'll take the job. Then
we'll only do it
help
for
you tell these
$400,000 a year. You know what I mean?
I'll do it for a fucking
Yeah,
dollar.
right. Yeah. Speaking of, send us $1. Table show.
Send us $1.
Spanish Announce Table.
Hey, you want a storyline from the Spanish Announce Table? Send us $1. We might write one for you,
Right.
or do a video.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want any kind of T-Mac story time, Tim story time, collaboration story time, give us the parameters, give us the list of items. We'll do a YouTube video for us. Donate $1 and you'll get that. We'll send it directly to you first, and then we'll put it on our YouTube channel. We'll credit you for coming up with the items that we talked about. There you go.
Love it. All right, 2 things on the WWE side that we're going to discuss. It was going to be one thing, but a second thing happened today that I want to bring up.
Oh, okay.
News comes out. Logan Paul has signed a multi-event contract with WWE. So, I think we addressed this before. WWE is starting to show that, like, they're heavily reliant on the stars, and they don't know how to make them anymore.
Nope.
So I feel like you've got to go this pro wrestling with the stars route, where you've got the ready-made star. You know, he can talk shit. He can hold his own on some promos. He's, you know, at least an above-average athlete. You know what I mean? Like, and if you train him up and do whatever, and like, he's got a huge following of people that don't watch wrestling. So now they might. I mean, I'm sure if he brings some of those people, he's worth everything they throw at him.
Definitely. And this is no indictment of him. This feels very much like the CM Punk to UFC. Remember how we were like, hey, if it's your dream to be the starting pitcher for the, you know, local baseball team, and they say you want to do it for a lot of money, you're going to say yes. You know, obviously CM Punk wanted to fight. The UFC said, here's a lot of money. He's going to say yes. He failed, unfortunately, but he did it, right? Logan Paul did the SummerSlam match. He's obviously a wrestling fan. He sees the opportunity. I think he is actually somewhat of like an enthusiast of the pro wrestling genre. So he's going to do it. And like you said, WWE is now in this mode of, well, Pat McAfee's famous and he likes pro wrestling, so put him in a match. Well, Logan Paul's famous and he likes wrestling, put him in a match. And that's, Bad Bunny's famous and he likes wrestling, put him in a match.
Pro wrestling,
and that's your undercard. Yeah, I mean, it's pro wrestling with the stars with Roman Reigns at top. Yeah, that's what they're doing.
I mean, and look, hey, if it works, it works. Whatever. At TheoX75 again on the Twitch says, "Hello, Logan Paul, my new bathroom break until the Apex bathroom break. Randy Orton returns."
I mean, I don't think that Logan Paul is going to tell any story that I'm going to have to watch.
Hold on, Logan Paul against an annoyed Randy Orton. Like,
oh, that's good.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Like Randy Orton's like, I'm sorry, who the fuck are you? He'd be like, I'm on
the
YouTube.
Dream.
I'm a YouTuber, and be like, you what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, just Randy Orton being like, no, this is not okay.
The dream match for a Logan Paul type would either be Jon Moxley or Minoru Suzuki. They're like, we're gonna kill you. Like, this is, you know what I mean? Like, that would be the dream. But yeah, a Randy Orton who's like, I don't respect you. This is where I cut my teeth. You are going to get it, and you're going to get it in about 20 minutes, and I'm going to kick your ass, right? Like, that would be perfect. Theo, if you're still on the Twitch, who you taking in that? Apex or new bathroom?
He's not even watching this thing. He's turning the TV off.
Yeah. But yeah, Logan Paul, I don't think he's going to be on TV week in, week out. He'll do the Brock Lesnar schedule where he's on 3 consecutive weeks before the pay-per-view. He loses or wins, goes away, comes back. You know, they figured out a formula that works for them. Not for me, but for them.
Theo responded. He said, I'll be in the bathroom. Yeah. Duh. All right. The other WWE topic that we have to discuss, and it's about Raw. It was John Cena Love Fest. And at Katie First Lady on the Twitter says, did the Street Profits forget that Cena lost to the Bloodline as well? Or are we just going to ignore that? Hashtag WWE Raw, hashtag Tweet the Table. And yeah, this was a Cena Fest. Cena's giving advice to the Street Profits, and they asked for it, but yet, why? I mean, why did they ask for the guy who lost to the same people they lost to? But, I mean, this was all, let's go Cena. And I guess Cena hints at, like, he's going to do the schedule as well, right? He'll be around maybe for a couple matches here and there and another feud or two. And
Yeah,
I mean, look,
it
Cena
looks like.
is. Look, if we're being honest and we go back and we run like who are the greatest wrestlers of all time from start to finish, Cena, if you look at accomplishments, look at things he's done, look at what he can do, is somewhere in a high range of that list, right? Everybody enumerates it differently, but I mean, he's one of the greatest of all time to do this.
He's top 50.
He's somewhere in the top 57. So, but, and yes, like absence makes the heart grow fonder in some instances, but I'm not ready to do this again because we have seen every single John Cena rivalry, match, promo, story ever. If he's going to do anything, I even if it's a part-timer schedule, can you give me a different wrinkle to the character?
Well,
like you've made enough wishes now, right? More than everybody in history combined, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you've done it. Yeah, I know you had convictions and wanted to be that and you were that, but now you don't have to be that anymore, right? Like,
well, he's got one
something
story
different.
to tell.
Uh-oh.
He's got one story to tell. And I understand he's been putting over the top guys, right? He lost to Roman Reigns, things like that. But the thing he has to do, I think, in his checkbox of completing the John Cena story is who's the future. And I think if you follow social media, which I see, consistently, it's Austin Theory. It's John Cena puts over Austin Theory, which then gets him in the realm of Cody, Seth Rollins, maybe Roman Reigns, like that echelon. That's what he has to do. And that's fine, right? Like, I don't hate that idea that John Cena is going to lose to a future star.
Sure, right.
Totally fine. My issue with Monday Night Raw, which caught the highlights, is the anti-AEW is what I thought, where with the details mattering in AEW, right? Eddie Kingston doesn't like Claudio, so he's not going to be happy the first time he sees him. Now he puts bygones aside when they get to the match, but fuck that guy until that time, right? We see, Stokely Hathaway mentioning details about stories that will involve Jade Cargill maybe down the line or in the future, immediately, right? But WWE, John Cena comes out. I saw a picture of this and I almost punched my phone. John Cena comes out and they have a fucking parade of wrestlers standing on the side of him. You know who's in it? You know who's in the parade?
Everybody's
the Usos.
Yeah.
The Usos. Why would the Usos be in that line?
Mm-hmm.
I saw the first one where it's a Dolph Ziggler, it's a Miz, right? Where it's like old bitter rivals, but tonight we'll put it aside. Those things I can forgive. But when it was at SummerSlam last year, that the Usos and Roman Reigns were saying this guy's the worst person in the world, and then now they're like this, like there's one part of like when real things happen, 9/11, a wrestler passing away, things like that, where you're like, hey, we're breaking kayfabe here, we're all mourning or celebrate, whatever it is, this thing. But this is John Cena, the wrestler here. This wasn't John Cena. He goes by his name, so it's, it's hard to distinguish the two, but like, this isn't the real John Cena. This is still pro wrestling John Cena. And so for the Usos to be like, the only one that did great here was Becky Lynch. Did you catch Becky Lynch? That's the only one who did her part as she should. Seth Rollins, to his credit, does the laugh like the John Cena song. He's ha ha ha. Like, those two committed to being pro wrestlers, and everyone else, I just walked to the ocean. You guys were miserable.
Yeah, I hated that. I did see that, and that was terrible. It was neat that AEW gave the ability for the guys to do the videos and whatnot.
Yeah, as they should. That's again Tony Khan being a wrestling fan and saying like, no, it makes sense that Big Show, who John Cena beat at his first WrestleMania, Daniel Bryan, who's Bryan Danielson, but Daniel Bryan, who had that amazing story with the championship. Who else? Chris Jericho, who's one of the early feuds for John Cena, would be a part of this, right? Like, he's not a dickhead who, raped referees in the 1980s, allegedly, pulling bullshit power moves. So credit to Tony Khan, and fuck Vince.
Yeah. Theo said, I was glad Cena came back on Raw. I had a case of pent-up booze to throw at him. And he also said, I'll pay to see Minoru Suzuki powerbomb Logan Paul into a dumpster full of CFL tube bulbs.
Jeez, I like that. So here's my theory too about John Cena is the cheers. Tell me what you think about this. I think the cheers are just leftover fans. So I think John Cena at his apex, when it was let's go Cena, Cena sucks. The Cena sucks people, in my opinion, have either left pro wrestling as like an interest, or they found the GCW, AEW,
right.
maybe even Impacts, right? And they're not going to the WWE shows anymore. But then those kids that were doing the Let's Go Cena now are adults and have maybe kids of their own. And so it's, hey, that was my favorite as a kid. Johnny, let's go cheer for John Cena. Yay. And it's all those people now. It's no longer like you pushed out the Cena sucks people to AEW and all these other places.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. And I think that's where it doesn't even feel real to me anymore. When we say we're like, why are people still liking this? And I think it's people that we can't conceive of thinking the same way these folks do that sit there and watch this and cheer for this. WWE now is indicative of everything Cena was, right? It's like, no, we do this because you guys like this, right? Look at it. It's all colorful and bright and you like it. We're like, I mean, do we like it? They're like, you like it. And it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah. It's force-fed entertainment. It feels not horrible. So I don't necessarily feel like I hate this, but I don't feel like I have to watch next week, but it's muscle memory at this point. So I guess let's go Cena. Like, that's how I feel. It's just mind numbing sheep that go to these shows and watch this product.
Yeah. Well, all right. I mean, that was all I had. I don't know. We can end the show there, right? I mean, it's not the spectacle that AEW is. And
the spectacle of entertainment that AEW provides is fantastic. By the way, another thing that is fantastic is Central States Wrestling. Again, come out to their next show, which will feature Brock Anderson, Ace Steel, and the legendary Four Horseman himself, the Enforcer, Arn Anderson.
Let me tell you why this is important if you're in the Kansas City area, aside from just seeing Arn Anderson and a Horseman and Central States Wrestling is great and all the folks there are great. But the reason that you should attend this event live, because there will be tension in the air, right? There will be an anxiety in the air because everybody should know Arn, he's got that thing on him. And you never know when that could come out, right? So who the fuck knows what's going to happen on August 25th in Kansas City, August 27th at the Camelot Ballroom. We'll discuss that next week, hopefully, here with our special guests. So stay tuned to our social medias for that.
Come on.
And check us out, SpanishAnnounceTable.net, to find all the links to those social medias, to donate money to us, and just look around, right? And then other than that, we'll be back next week for more of Pro Wrestling's Best Podcast.
The Spanish Announce Table.
All right. I think we're good. Hold on. All right. Good shit. That was fun.
Yes, that was fun.
I like that.
All right, man.